So thanks for joining us. Us. This me and Stanley, and he's photobombing today. So my name is Lisa Nielsen, and I'm your Aflac agent. I'll be your Aflac agent for as long as I am around and not retired. I've been with Aflac for a long time, and I love what I do. So if I can be of assistance to you, be sure to let me know. Then I would like to first go through the claims process, because if you have a claim, it's important that you get your claims done. As long as you've had your policy, you can go back as far as you can up to your effective date, and we can do a claim. And if you need help, be sure to let me know. My information will be at the very end of this video. Then the claims process is pretty easy. There's an app you can put on your phone called Smart Claim, and then you just kind of upload it and all the information that they need, and you can have your money in your bank account the very next day. So that's really very nice. All right, the next thing I'd like to do is go through all of the products.
Okay, let's get started. The first one we need to talk about is the short-term disability. A short-term disability is one that if you're too sick to work, or if you're injured too badly, your doctor will sign a note that says you cannot work until this date, and that's your return to work date. So then what Aflac will do is pick up the, you just fax that in with your claim, and then they will pay you daily for each of the days that you missed of work if you have this policy. It does have the ability to go on your salary, and we'll kind of get to that a little bit later. This little thing says that, before you retire, 1 in 4 Americans will have a disability. And so, and 90% of those disabilities are not work related. So if you're out zipping around on your four-wheeler, you roll it, you break your arm, that's not work related. So then, you'd end up having to do a disability policy, but if you've got it, it's really good to have an income while you're out. And that's why Aflac does that. What I'd like to cover next is the rate. So if you are looking at this short-term disability rate right there, I've put in a annual salary. So if you make $16,000 for in a year, you would get $800 every month. So it's a benefit period of $800, and that's a monthly. So you can divide that by however many days there are in the month, and it will give you the daily rate. The 3-month piece of it is, if you only want a 3-month policy, you can get that, or you can get the 6-month. The 6-month is a lot more popular, except if you're a young lady and you're wanting to get pregnant and have a baby, and usually you're out for 6 weeks or 8 weeks. So a 3-month policy is plenty of time. But most people go with the 6-month policy because they want to make sure that if it is a broken arm, or if they have to have maybe a gallbladder taken out, that they have enough time that the policy will pay them for that long. Then if you look at the end of this, I went up to $34,000 a year, which would be $1,700 a month benefit to you. And if you break it down in age groups, and the 6-month and the 3-month policies, it gives you your rate. If you wanted, let's say you want $4,000 of well, if you want $2,000 of benefit, then you would go down to the $2,200 annual income, and then that gives you $1,100. If you go down to the 20,000, that gives you $1,000 and the number of how much it would cost you. So in the 6-month policy, if you are 18 to 49, it would be $19.50 per month. If you want this 3-month policy, it would be $16.90 a month. So if you want a $2,000 a month benefit, you would just double that amount, and that's what your rate would be. So that's how you can kind of figure it out on your own. Now, the next slide here is the Aflac Plus rider. You can add this on. It's a rider, and a rider is something that you put on top of your policy that will ride on the policy. If you go down this list with the benefit amount and the benefit name, then the Tier 1 critical illness benefit for this Aflac Plus rider, if you have a heart attack, stroke, coma, paralysis, diabetes, and it has to be juvenile onset diabetes, so it would have to be one of your children for that one, or traumatic brain injury, advanced Alzheimer's disease, advanced Parkinson's, and it goes on. It's, it ends here with the sudden cardiac arrest down here. So, and the permanent loss of speech, I do know that there is, that would be payable with the stroke. So it's kind of a nice policy to have. It's very inexpensive, but you do have to have one of these things to have this happen, for you to have a claim on this. But it happens more often than you think. Then the next step, if you have like another heart attack or another stroke, you would get a $3,000 recurrence benefit, or if you have 2 of these items up here, like a traumatic brain injury that goes along with a stroke, you would have a $5,000 for one of them, and then an occurrence of a different Tier 1, so then you would get an additional $3,000. So then the Tier 2 critical illness events are a little bit, there's a whole different list. It does include Lyme's disease, has systemic lupus. It's got all of these 9 items there. And then it's not payable on the same day as the Tier 1 diseases are, like the heart attack. So it has to be a separate event. This cannot cause that other event. So if you have to have a coronary artery bypass graft surgery, it's $2,000 to you. And a lot of heart things, they do have that. The next item would be the cost for this. And you can see that it's broken down into age groups. So if you're 18 to 29, it would cost you $3.12 per month. If you're 50 to 70, it would cost you $13.39 per month. But that's very inexpensive, and even for the 50 to 70-year-old age group, because if you've ever looked at a policy that's like this, it's 3 times that amount usually. Sometimes you can find it for 2 times that amount, but it's never $13.39. So that's a very, very good price. Our next policy, what we'll talk about, is cancer. Cancer, if you are diagnosed with an internal cancer, you would get, if it's you or your spouse, you would receive $4,000. If it's a dependent child, it's $8,000. This is because you get more money for your children, because often you want both of you to be there for your child. You want both of you to be either at the hospital, or one of you to take care of the other children while the other one goes to the doctor or the hospital. So they give you a little bit of extra money on that one. Then every year, I do have to say the cancer screening part is one of my favorite things, because I always hope that nobody gets the cancer, any kind of cancer, but you would receive on this level, you would receive $175 benefit per calendar year per covered person. So that means if you've got 5 children and you and your spouse, you would get 7 times 75. So I'll let you do that math, but that's how that goes. And the other thing is, if you need a surgery, it has a surgical benefit. It has, there's an additional, if you go to a second opinion, it will give you additional $300. Radiation and chemotherapy is physician administered, like if you have to have a doctor do it self-administered and physician administered is completely different. So you'd get $250 a month for the self-administered, and the physician's administered is $1,200 per month. And that's just because sometimes you have to travel to the doctor, or take a lot of time out of your day to go to the doctor to do this, where if it's a home-based thing that you can do yourself, it's often not as time consuming. There's all kinds of benefits in here, and you can kind of see while scanning through that. And then all of these things, they do build on top of each other. So if you are hospitalized, plus you have surgery, plus you have it does have the skin cancer. I forgot to mention that. But like if you have a blood and plasma while you're an inpatient, it will pay you additionally on top of that. So everything is additional on top of everything else. And the initial benefit diagnosis right here, where you get $4,000 and your children get $8,000, that does build for each individual by $500 every year. So in 10 years, you would have an additional $5,000 on top of this. So for you and your spouse, you would get $9,000. Dependent child, you would receive $13,000. It's really a nice benefit. And let's talk about the rates. So we're going to scroll down here to the cancer. If you have a 2-parent family and your age is below 75, it would, let's see, it would cost you, for a 2-parent family, it'd be $73.51 per month. If it's just you and your spouse, it'd be $72. If it's just you, it would be $40.36. 1-parent family means just you, the working parent, and then your children. That'd be $41.27. So there's all kinds of mix and match kind of things here. The next slide is the accident. It's the last one. If you have an initial accident with the hospitalization, then you get $1,000. If you have, and then it's an additional $200 a day that you're in the hospital. The intensive care is $400 for up to 15 days. And then you have if you just go in, you can see on this next little piece right here, if you go into the emergency room with the x-ray, it's $200. If you go without the x-ray, it's $170. You can just go to the Instacare or the doctor's office and get $120. So that is a good benefit. The least amount you can get for seeking treatment for an accident is $120. So even if you walk through that the office door and say, I hurt myself, check me out. And they say, there's really nothing wrong except, just go home, put ice on it, and you'll be okay. That would be $120 to you. There's also ambulance benefits, appliance benefits, back brace, body jacket, wheelchair, canes. There's benefits for all of those. The house modification benefit is pretty new. It's $2,000 once per covered accident per covered person. So if you have to modify your home, then you get that as well. Then here's a list of the injuries that you sustain, and remember, these are paid on top of those other benefits that were listed before. Then you have an accidental death and dismemberment piece that does pay your family $100,000 if you are down to $15,000. If you are in a common carrier, that means a bus, train, taxi. The other accident would be your personal car, and the hazardous activity would be if you're out skiing or doing something like that. Then you've got a wellness benefit of $60 once per calendar year, which is different than the cancer that had the $75 once per calendar year per covered person. So remember, this is just once per calendar year per policy. Then you've got family support benefit. That means if somebody has to come and be with you, they will pay you $20 a day for somebody to come and be with you or your family in the hospital. There's other benefits to this as well, and you can see those listed here. The cost for the accident plan is listed here, and it is again broken down by individual or employee and spouse, or employee and children, or employee, spouse, and children. And you can see the totals there. You can also pick up a critical illness one, which is a heart attack and stroke one. It's like the plus policy. It's built like the cancer policy. We do have a supplemental dental, because you have other dental, I believe, in there. We can also do vision, and there's some life insurance. That does it for today, and my information is listed here. Just give me a call or text or email me if you have additional questions or if you would like to enroll. It was great talking to you today, and thanks for being here.